Hey guys, I'm Phoenix Gray, and this is Lit RPG Happy Hour, where I sample Lit RPG and alcoholic beverages. Feel free to drink along if you dare. Today I'm going to be reading a sample of Reborn Apprentice Reclamation Book 1 by Luka Petrov, and I'll be playing a game along with it called A Change of Scenery, where I will take a drink every time there is a chapter or a scene break. This is going to continue until I either finish the sample or I tap out. I'm doing this disclaimer today because I'm actually going to be taking a lot of shots. Anyway, if you want to follow along, please pause this video and download a copy of the book at the link provided, or you can just drink it whenever I do. As a disclaimer, I do not read every book that I drink to. This is all for fun and to share the word about Lit RPG and these awesome books. Having said that, let's go ahead and get started. So this was requested by a YouTube viewer that I take ginger shots, and I had no clue what those are, and then I found this when I was at the liquor store. So it is like a ginger liqueur. And I actually really love ginger. I like fresh ginger. I like the spiced ginger. So I'm kind of interested to see what this is going to be like. And if you're wondering why I'm all dressed up like this, it's because I'm testing out makeup for the Sherwood Forest Fair, which is a Renaissance festival that's happening next weekend. And I've got my scale mail on. I actually handmade this. You can't see the rest of it, but it's like a vest, or not like a vest, but like a tank top. There's like chains here, and then there's like actual tank top below that. But I'm probably not going to wear this to the fair because it's supposed to be, the high's supposed to be 60, and I will freeze to death. I get cold really easily. But I don't know how I feel about the makeup either. But anyway, we'll see. I thought it would be fun to give it a try. So we're starting with chapter 1. This is a brand new bottle. I don't know if you heard it snap, but it actually smells pretty good. I like the way it smells. I'm going to be doing 1 ounce pours, so... Alright, that is 1 ounce. Okay, I thought I got some on my keyboard, but I didn't. So here we go. First shot. That's actually pretty good. Like, I like it. I would buy it again. That would go great in some 7-Up, which I have, but I'm not going to do that. Anyway, chapter 1. Did you get everything in the truck, dear? My mother asked as she closed the hatchback door of my 1994 green Ford Bronco. Yes, I'm sure everything is in the truck. College seems so complicated. I have to bring a microwave, a toaster, a laptop. We haven't even purchased the books I'll need for my classes yet, I replied. We will after we arrive and get you settled, don't worry. Also, it's reassuring to know you're only an hour away. If you need something, you can just drive down and get it. Your dad and I will follow you in our car during the drive, my mother explained. Thanks, I appreciate you guys helping me get settled. I must admit I've been anxious about college. I am worried that I will not make any friends and that I won't do well in my classes. Dear, you'll be just fine. You graduated in the top 10 in your class. I don't know how you did it all. Thanks, Mom. I appreciate that. Let's get going. Your dad is in the car waiting. Alright, scene break. So we're going for another one. I don't really know how to describe how this tastes. It has the slightest... Well, actually I do. It tastes like 7-Up with the slightest hint of ginger and a little bit of alcohol. It's actually very easy to shoot. Alright. The drive down the highway was pleasant. Just as the commute passed an hour, the university where I would spend the next 4 years emerged on the horizon, Cedar Ridge College. It was not my first choice, but they accepted me with my major, biochemistry, and provided me with an academic scholarship that was almost a full ride. I was planning on taking student loans out when I entered medical school, so it was nice to attend a small university before going to a larger one for medical school. We parked right outside my dorm room's building on the college campus. Wow! It thrilled me to move out and to begin a fresh chapter in my life. Not wanting to have a roommate, I had elected a single dorm. Sometimes I found it painful and taxing on my energy to be among people all the time. Plus, I would need it quiet when I studied. I walked to my parents' car and my dad rolled down the window. Wait here, I'll go register and get my keys to the room, I explained. Gotcha. Give me your car key and your mom and I will make sense of your trunk. I handed him my keys and made my way to the dorm building. Everyone was moving in that day. Classes would begin on Monday, so this weekend was the time that all the students were moving in after the summer. As I approached the dorm building, there was a line for the check-in table where 4 students sat in front of signs reading A through F, G through L, M through S, and T through Z. I made my way to the T through Z line. Thankfully, my line was nice and short. Being at the end of the alphabet had its perks. When it became my turn to receive my keys, the student sitting at the table asked, First and last name, please. Edward White, I replied. Found you right here. You're in the dorm room number 610. Initial here and you have received your keys. he said as he pointed to a line next to my name. I initialed right next to my name. Thank you, I said as the student handed me a key. I returned to my parents, who were carrying boxes toward the building. What did you put in here, Ed? Dead bodies? My dad joked. Funny, Dad, I shouted and took another bag. My dad and I carried all the heavy boxes up from the car. 6 flights of stairs were tough. My mom held the doors open and carried the lighter items, while my dad and I were the heavy lifters. We were on our last trip up the stairs and were preparing to unpack when my dad dropped one box on the floor. It hit the floor with an unexpected crash. I recognized which box it was, and my heart fell into my stomach. Dad, careful with that box, I shouted, watching him handle my most prized possession. What's in here that has you all worked up? My dad asked as he examined the box. A grimace appeared on his face, and he said, This isn't those models, are they? Yes, those are my models, I explained. You're aware those could have stayed home. I don't understand why you're so attached to them, my dad said. You wouldn't understand, I replied. He would not understand how much these miniatures meant to me. Some of my favorite times while I was in high school were when my friends got together after school, let out, and played in one classroom a teacher allowed us in. She stayed after school to grade English papers. My buddy Rick asked her if we could use her classroom to play our favorite RPG tabletop game while she graded papers. We promised not to disturb her while she worked. I learned about RPGs from a friend whose dad had played. I didn't understand the obsession at first, but once I understood the concept, I was hooked. I loved the verbal impersonations we would do to sound like the characters. Using cognitive skills, logic, and mathematics combined with imagination was all I needed to keep playing. My favorite part of the RPG session was when the DM would come up with an NPC that our party would encounter. Those were some of my best memories. I hoped I would find a group in college. I was sure it wouldn't be as fun as my group in high school, but I loved to play. We unpacked all the boxes and settled the items in my new dorm room. I set up my computer while my mom set up my microwave, toaster, and the bare amount of dining utensils I brought. My dad helped with connecting my printer and organizing the modest number of books in the bookshelf. I unpacked my miniatures. One by one, I placed each of them on my desk in order. The pewter miniatures were what I lived for. I used them in my favorite role-play game. Of all the things I owned, these were my prized possessions. As I arranged them on my desk, I picked up and studied the wizard, my favorite. There was something mystical about magic users, especially users of black magic. Oh yes, black mages. Masters of offensive magic whose spells specialized in attacking and damaging enemies. I especially gravitated to the elemental powers where spells focused on fire, ice, and lightning. White magic or healers were necessary but boring. Clerics and druids were wise and were connected to the divine. Bards, sorcerers, and warlocks were all about forced personality. However, wizards were where the true intellect, analytics, and mental drive lay. Wizards solved puzzles, gathered information, and reached their true intuition. Not to mention, they threw firebolts or made things invisible. I had mastered spell utilization, and in certain sessions that had allowed me to make my own spells, which only increased my intrinsic reward. It is difficult playing the wizard. First off, there is a lot of research. Couple that with strategically using spells to increase invisibility. Of the different schools of magic, I am partial to the spells that are categorized as evoking magic. Looks like we're done. Ed, welcome to your new home. Let's go downtown and get lunch before we head back home, my mom suggested. That sounds like a spectacular idea. Ed, where would you like to eat? Do you remember of any good places around here from your visits? My dad asked. We got into my parents' car and drove downtown. They had dropped me off back at the dorm after lunch on their way out of Cedar Ridge College and then head home. As we walked around the intimate and quaint downtown, we passed by a sushi place that looked tempting. Hey, let's eat here. It looks marvelous, I suggested. I don't like raw fish. Down the street there's a burger joint. Let's go there, my dad insisted. Oh, that place makes a juicy burger. I wanted sushi, though. When I visited the campus, one of the days that I stayed, they took us to that burger place. I think it's called Burger Bar. It's a nice little place. They serve craft burgers where you can add gourmet ingredients, and they have a wide variety of fries. They have truffle fries with Parmesan cheese on top, sweet potato fries, garlic fries, and regular fries, I recalled. Sounds fantastic. Let's go, my dad said. We walked past the sushi place and down the street to Burger Bar. I perused the menu and settled on a mushroom and Swiss burger. My parents each had the black and blue burger. We shared the truffle fries, one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. College will be hard, son, my dad started off. You'll need to buckle down to get into a good med school. Yes, Dad, I realize that. That is my goal, to get into a proper medical school, I replied. And don't let girls impede your goals. They can distract you from your studies. They need continuous attention. My advice is to stay away, my dad warned. Come on, Carl, what if he finds the love of his life? He can study hard and still look for a wife in college, my mother interrupted. I want grandchildren in the next 10 years and a doctor in the family. He can have all of that after med school. It will bless us to have a doctor in the family, my dad defended. I refereed their humorous disagreement. Time will tell what happens. I'm not looking to settle down right now or before med school, but if the right one comes along, that all could change. On the subject of your social life, dear, try not to drink too much. If you do drink, only have a beer or two, my mother advised. Charlene, he's underage. He will not be drinking, said my dad. Carl, this is college. Someone will buy alcohol for all the underage students. We are naive if we believe otherwise. Great point. Right, Ed? Don't drink too often. But a good hangover will reinforce that learning, said my dad with a laugh. I remember that. I've never drunk before, I assured them. Also, don't forget to wrap it up. You may not be looking for a wife, but there will be plenty of charming girls looking to land a man. In college, they like to be loose, said my dad. Just as the words left his mouth, my mom choked on her tea. Carl, she shouted. What? That's one thing I don't want him learning the hard way. Between venereal diseases and pregnancies, all it takes is one misstep. My dad defended his argument. I will remember that, I assured him. We finished our burgers and headed toward the car. We had parked down the street since we had walked a little around downtown. While crossing the last intersection before we reached our car, a speeding car blew the stoplight and was barreling toward my mom. I sprinted toward her, shouting, Mom, get out of the way! Just as I reached her, I pushed her to the curb. It was a tight call. Just then, I felt the impact of the vehicle propel me into the air. I landed on the pavement several feet in front of the car. As I lay there, I heard my parents crying out my name. Edward! My mother screamed, Edward! Edward! Are you all right? Someone call 911! My dad patted my cheeks to try to bring me back to consciousness, and soon after he began CPR. I heard their voices and felt them around me, but I couldn't respond to them and let them know I was all right. All right, time for a scene break. I don't know why I like the sound that bottles make when they're emptying, the whole little glug, glug, glug. All right, bottoms up. I think that's 3. My eyes fluttered open to a bright white light. I must have been in the operating room of a hospital. I guess the anesthesia was wearing off and thought the doctor should give me more. Wait a second. I was wide awake. So where were all the doctors? As I sat up, I felt no pain. Weird. I looked around and took in my surroundings. I saw 2 chairs and a table in the middle of a stark white room. Where am I? I turned my head and saw a man sitting in a chair. I pried myself up off of the floor to ask him where in the world I was. It was all very confusing. I needed to get back to my parents and let them know I was all right. After struggling to get myself to my feet, I wandered to the table and chairs where the man sat. Weird. I couldn't see the ground beneath my feet, yet I could walk. I sat down in the chair opposite the man. I tried to focus my eyes on the man's face, but could not make out his features. Do you know where you are? The man asked. The hospital, I believe. Will you release me to go home soon? Can I see my parents? I asked. Ed, the man said in an amiable voice. You died. The car hit you while you were saving your mother. The driver had stolen the car just down the street and was attempting to get out of the city when he struck you. The impact killed you instantly. Don't worry, you did not suffer. You died quickly. I vaguely remember that. How's my mom? Is she okay? I asked. Your mother is perfectly fine. However, she has entered a depression and hasn't eaten for days. She has survivor's guilt, but she has your dad to lean on, the figure explained. This incident has been an appalling ordeal for her. She will pull out of it, but she is mourning the loss of her only child. So what happens now? I asked. You have 3 choices, Ed. Your initial choice is to reincarnate on Earth. You'll not be able to remember anything from your previous life. I'll move you to a distant country with a strange family, explained the figure. What are my other 2 choices? I asked. I was getting to those, Ed. Your other 2 choices are very diverse. The next option is that you can go to where you humans call heaven. You have sufficient merits behind you from this life and your previous lives on Earth, and you've earned yourself a spot. Congratulations, that is a worthy accomplishment. During most of these conversations, I have to let the wretched souls know they must fulfill more of their potential before I allow them into the pearly gates. Huh. Thank you, I guess. Are you suggesting that should be my choice? I asked. Well, no. I cannot advise you on what to choose. I will only provide you with information. Your third option is that you may reincarnate to an extraordinary universe, explained the figure. I have already experienced reincarnation to the world I came from, so I don't have an interest in that. Could you please give me more information about heaven and the extraordinary universe? I asked. The figure considered this. Well, let's see. I'll try to explain both the locations as best I can, knowing you do not have previous experience with either of them. Heaven processes the souls and takes them into a greater multiverse. The originating universe helps mature the soul to where it can function in the broader multiverse, and thankfully this last go-round your soul has matured to that level. Perhaps I should go there since I have finally earned a spot, I reasoned. Not so fast. Let me explain the third and final option. I have based this extraordinary universe on magic. However, lately it is running on a deficit. Too many souls are dying and not wanting to reincarnate there, explained the figure. Puzzled, I asked, why is that? The figure flipped through the papers on the table and studied one page in the stack. According to my data, it appears the reason that souls do not want to reincarnate there is because of Demon Lord Abraxas. Demon Lord? As in the kind of arch enemy I'm used to in an RPG? I questioned with a little excitement. The figure hesitated before responding. That is exactly how this universe works. It is a real-life RPG. I asked rhetorically, RPGs are not real. The figure let out a chuckle. Well, between you and me, RPGs are real. But on a more serious note, and let me be frank, if this universe continues to run at the prolonged deficit it is experiencing, the powers that be will force me to shut down the universe, and I will have no choice but to scrap all the souls inside it. Personally, I would like to see this universe take off. It has great potential. This universe is a side project of mine, passion project if you will. I created it after one of my favorite RPG games. The name of the universe is 8285934094398A. And of all the universes I created and oversee, this one is by far my favorite. It pains me to say it is close to being scrapped. The magic-based universe intrigued me, but I also did not want to jeopardize the one shot I had at going to heaven. I don't understand how I could help, I stated. Ed, I met with you after your transition to the afterworld because I figured if anyone could save this universe, it would be you. You are an astute RPG player, arguably one of the best. Coincidentally, I based this universe on your favorite tabletop game. The universe mechanics work under the same rules as that RPG. I became intrigued by this development, but also wondered, if I was close to going to heaven, why would I elect to go to a universe that depended on me and risk having my soul scrapped? Let me be honest, I began. Why would I choose this endeavor and risk my soul being scrapped versus going to heaven? I could take none of the knowledge I gained during this previous life. The figure replied, correct. You have an accurate assessment of the decision that lies before you. I continued, let me make sure I have this correct. Through door number 1, I go back to Earth. Perhaps I reincarnate to a country such as China. I grow up, I become educated, I work and enter the rat race. Perhaps I have a family of my own, and then I'm right back here in several decades meeting with you. The figure responded, sounds about right, go on. I went on. And through door number 2, I have the option of receiving everlasting life in paradise, in the kingdom of heaven, which sounds excellent right now. And finally, through door number 3, I have the option of reincarnating to an extraordinary universe, and that universe uses a magical system. The magical system is based on my favorite RPG, but oh wait, it's on its way to hell in a handbasket because it's being taken over by the evil overlord Abracadabra, and I risk losing my entire soul, not to mention everyone else's in that entire universe, all because I could not get it together to fulfill my destiny. The figure calmly said, Abraxas. The demon lord's name is Abraxas. You probably should remember that, and at the moment, all the souls are on their way to being scrapped whether you reincarnate there or not. But Ed, I must tell you, you are their only hope. Guilt consumed my being. I'm their only hope? So I could go on to heaven and live in everlasting paradise, but I would have to live with guilt for eternity because I didn't reincarnate to the extraordinary magical universe? I realize that this looks like an easy decision to you. Go to heaven or have your soul permanently dismantled in an abyss of darkness. I get it. Let me explain. Heaven is not all that it's cracked up to be. It's boring, and since they combine you with other souls, you have no privacy and no autonomy. There is no magic because there is no need for magic. The decision I am presenting to you will allow you to fulfill your destiny, the destiny you feel you did not complete in your most recent past life because of your tragic and untimely death. If I decide on this universe 828 whatever, can I pick my class? I asked. The figure hesitated for a moment before responding. I will allow it, he said, but on one condition, he continued. You must rid the universe of the demon lord Abraxas and restore order over the universe. I will also allow you to keep the skills you've gained during your RPG play in your previous life. The figure extended out his hand for a handshake. As my hand grasped his hand vibrated with energy, shifting constantly under mine. The power and energy that this figure held was unimaginable. It's a deal, I responded as I gripped his oscillating hand. So what do you want to be? The figure asked. I'd like to be a black magic user, the figure responded, and so it shall be. As I looked around the room, the bright light flickered, and then the room went dark. Alright, it is time for another shot. So this is 15% ABV, which isn't like super alcoholic. I was actually looking through my collection for something a little bit less since I knew I was going to be taking a lot of shots today. But yeah, I'm not quite feeling it yet. That was number 4. My eyes fluttered open again, this time to sunlight. The sunlight broke through a window. I heard a woman singing the same way my mother used to sing. "Mom?" I shouted. "Yes, dear, don't be scared, I'm right here. You had a fever and it just broke," a woman's voice shouted from another room as I heard her footsteps drawing closer. A figure appeared in the doorway, a woman dressed in a plain brown floor-length dress. She had tied her hair back in a bun. "You're not my mother," I shouted, confused as to what was going on. "Oh, the fever must have brought on amnesia. Edward, you know who I am." Confused but slowly putting the pieces together, I answered, "Oh, right, Mom. What happened?" "You came down with a fever last night after supper. You've been in bed sweating ever since. This is the first time you've been conscious since falling ill." She placed her hand on my forehead. "Oh, good. You're feeling much cooler than you were. It worried me. I called for a doctor. He should arrive any minute. Are you hungry? I was preparing a stew when you called for me. It's still plenty hot since it is still on the fire." "No, Mom, but thank you. I'll just rest if you don't mind." She leaned over and kissed my forehead. "I'll let you know when the doctor arrives." Alright, scene break again. And I missed my mouth on that one a little bit. Alright, let's try this again. Now they're getting a little bit harsh. Shortly after... God, I can feel it like all over my face. I did a horrible job mopping that up. Alright. Shortly after my mom left to tend to the stew on the fire, she reappeared. "Dr. McGuire is here. He will examine you." Dr. McGuire appeared right behind my mom. "Let's find out what has brought on this fever, shall we?" Dr. McGuire sat next to me on the bed. "Stick out your tongue and say, 'ah.'" "Ah," I said. Dr. McGuire looked deep into my throat. "I see it. You have an infection from the polywarts. Did you go down to Devonshire Pond yesterday?" I don't recall, I replied. My mother interrupted. "Yes, he went down to Devonshire Pond yesterday with a few of his classmates from primary school." "That's what did it. There was an algae bloom and spores of polywarts were released. It has stricken the entire village with this infection. I've had a very busy day," explained Dr. McGuire. "Village?" I asked. "Yes, all of Gilmore has come down with the same fever," Dr. McGuire explained. "Let me add this case to my notes. Something has to be done about this exposure." Dr. McGuire reached for his notebook, flipped to a blank sheet, and mumbled while he wrote, "Edward Macara, fever from polywort exposure at Devonshire Pond." He glanced back at me. "Well, the good news is that you'll make a full recovery by tomorrow." My mom was elated by the news. "That's wonderful. I was dreadfully worried about him." Dr. McGuire emphasized, "Understandable. Polywarts are aggressive but short-lived. He'll feel like he's gotten a new life tomorrow." I sat in bed, relieved that my ailment was at the tail end. Fatigued, I lay back down. My mom walked Dr. McGuire out and then returned to my bedside. I fell asleep to her soothing, melodic hum, remembering my previous mother and the comfort that she gave me whenever I became ill. Soon I was fast asleep. Alright, another scene break. Yeah, the more of these I drink, the sweeter they become. I mean, they're still not bad, but back to back, it's not that great. I made it my face hole that time. Excellent. I awoke the following day to the sound and smell of sizzling meat. Wow, that smelled good. My body did not ache like it had the day before, and I removed myself from the covers of my bed and followed the scent of yummy goodness. As I entered the next room, I saw a man sitting at a wooden table. "Edward, you're up," he said. "I heard you had a visit from the doctor yesterday evening. Your mom told me all about it. I had to work late, but I was so relieved to hear you would make a full recovery." "Not sure who he was," I responded vaguely. "I feel much better than yesterday." "So good to hear. Breakfast is almost done. Your mom is outside bringing in more wood for the fire," said the man. As he finished his sentence, my mom appeared with an armful of logs. She stacked them next to the fire and removed the meat from the pot. "Edward, so glad to see you up. I filled your father in with the details from your doctor's visit. Your dad had to stay late at work last night to finish shoeing the king's war horses. He told me we might be preparing for a battle," my mom explained. "Are you hungry?" "Yes, I'm starving," I replied. As I ate the meat, which resembled thick bacon, my mom passed me a basket of rolls and butter. The breakfast was unimaginably good, and I savored each bite. Food in this universe was not bad. Putting two and two together, I realized the man at the table must be my dad. "Your mom tells me you will be well enough to attend school tomorrow. You still need today to recover from that dreadful fever you had," my dad explained. "Yes, Dad, I should be ready to go back tomorrow. I can't wait to see all my friends," I assured him. I spent the rest of the day in bed recovering and regaining my energy. I felt better than the day before, but still felt tired and had a little fatigue. Another day's rest would make me feel like a whole new person, as if I did not feel that already. Alright, there is another scene break. The following day, my mom assisted in getting me ready for school. She was tender when she dressed me. Your father has already left for the day. The king has gained more war horses from a neighboring village. The king sent a squire to have your dad arrive early to work. It appears we will head to battle soon, explained my mom. That seems scary, I replied. Don't worry about it. Gilmore has an excellent defense system, one of the best in all the land. Because of this, we have been safe for many centuries. Other villages have been pillaged and torched, but we remain. Our communication system and advanced defense techniques ensure that we remain safe. We also have the best wizards and sorcerers in all the land. We're fortunate. But now it's time for you to get to school. I will walk you since you were so ill for the past few days. My mom and I left our house, which was very nice. On our way to school, we passed some other students who were also on their way. How are you feeling, Harold? I heard you had the fever too, my mom asked a student who walked behind us. I'm much better today, my lady, Harold responded. My lady? Who was my mother? I realized we had a nice house with nice food, and judging by the surrounding area, we appeared to be well off. However, my dad had a job, so we were not nobles. Harold continued. Edward, how are you feeling? I heard you had the same fever I did. I'm much better, thank you. Dr. McGuire said it was from the Polyworts in Devonshire Pond. Can you believe it? I replied. I know, right? Dr. McGuire saw me the day before yesterday, too. Who would have thought our little adventure to Devonshire Pond would have such a resounding consequence? Harold replied. Yes, who would have predicted that? I responded. Definitely not me. I had no recollection of anything other than yesterday and the day before, but I was quick to put the pieces together. We walked about a mile, and I took in the sights and sounds of Gilmore. It is a quaint village. If I had to compare it to Earth, I would estimate Gilmore to have technological advancements similar to those of medieval Europe. We had a wood-burning stove, and my father was a blacksmith, but the village lacked common accommodations such as electricity and plumbing. However, it was not as dreadful as I had imagined it might be during sophomore world history class. I was well fed, comfortable, and I had not died from the bubonic plague. Well, at least not yet. I could get used to medieval things. It wasn't so bad. We approached the schoolhouse. Here we are, my mother said. See you after school, Mom, I said. Today there is a special assembly. They will test you for which trade you should enter. Your dad will join me right after he is done with work, and we will meet you after the assembly. I believe you will enter the trade of blacksmithing, just like your father. I cannot wait to see the results of the assessment. Don't you remember that you have the assessment today? My mom asked. Oh, right. I forgot that's today. I quickly covered for my lack of memory. I suppose being sick with a fever will make anyone forgetful. Yet it is today. See you this afternoon, said my mom. Alright guys, that is the end of the sample. Again, this is Reborn Apprentice by Luka Petrov. If you enjoyed this reading, go ahead and download a copy at the link provided. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good day, a good night, a good week, a good weekend, whatever time it is that you're watching this, and I will see you guys later.